So where were we yesterday? We were starting to go through the templates to look for prerequisites. And we got all the way to the for each. Still need to do the if and not set. Maybe the for. Let's see. So these cases that we need to deal with, and that's it, basically. It's not that much. But it'll be complicated. That's the problem. So the service is running, which is good. And we get to the first for each, which I think is in this component. This is the first for each. Even though in here we figure out that we kind of don't need it, but that's fine. So what do we do here? Yesterday I was thinking about whether I want to nest this function recursively. We're kind of trying to get the recursion out of the way during compilation, so that when we get to rendering the template or rendering the dependencies, we don't have to deal with it. Just want a clean list of all the things in there. Because for some of them, for instance the dashboard, we have Guten Morgen. For the dashboard we have icons here. Where have you been? You haven't been on in a while. What's happening? And lucky you that I'm on this early. I wanted to get up at 4, but I got up at 3 because people were being loud outside. Yeah, I know. It's crazy busy right now, isn't it? Like every day is just all the time. Still up. Yeah, I couldn't get back to sleep at 3 a.m. Mostly because my alarm was set up for 4 a.m. anyhow. Yeah. Time does go by so quickly. Yesterday I was talking to a colleague of mine, and he is in the admirable position that he doesn't pay attention to the news. It's always funny when I tell him stories about what's going on currently. He didn't know about alligator Alcatraz, for instance. And just telling people who are out of the loop what's going on in the loop is fun. It's amazing. We are in the find out stage of a bunch of situations. It is wild. It does break your mind. Every few weeks I'm debating with myself whether I want to just go clean, cut off Twitter for a while, just to see how it feels. It's probably a good idea. Yeah, Mars. I don't know. I think actually, does this work? This works. See, you have a chat now. America is kind of our second system effect, and it's not going that well. But maybe we need the third system on Mars. The problem is just that Mars is kind of a dump. There's nothing there. There have to be a few decades of development on Mars to make it something. Oh, we should go there, definitely. That's not a question. And before all this politics stuff, before all the politics happened all the time, every day, every second of the day, I think everybody was kind of on board with the idea of, yeah, well, let's extend humanity. And that was like a political issue. It'll be fun at some point to have what used to be America, but now it's a different planet. It's crazy. And I'm not sure, we did start something, like hundreds of thousands of years of human development, and sometimes we find traces of that. We've forgotten so much. Like every other year they find new ruins in South America, for instance, and all the prehistory stuff that we definitely forgot. There's so much stuff that we forgot. Makes you think about all the things that are currently going on that we don't even know about. And we're having big troubles right now at even deciding what's actually real and what's not real. even leaving AI out of the question, where we're just generating reality now, basically. That'll kick things up quite a bit, and it already does. What? I didn't see that. A sun pill? I think the sun. I thought the sun pill was just to stop using seed oils. Then you don't get sunburns. I'm kind of trying that out. I really don't like putting on sun lotion. I'm kind of deeply red pilled against all that stuff. And I thought you meant DMT, but I don't think that helps against sunburns. Maybe it does. I saw a tweet this morning about a black guy using DMT and being called the N-word by the machine elves. Like, maybe that's you. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're carrying something into a psychedelic trip. I think I told this story before, that years ago I was experimenting with wake-induced lucid dreaming, and it gives you a different perspective on how we process reality when you just have your subconscious creating your reality. And people just take input for granted, and they don't care about how much of that input they're generating themselves. And now we've built machines to do that for us. It kind of feels like we're in a lucid dream, actually, often. And all the times I'm wondering whether I'm just imagining things. And that's probably a bad idea. I mean, I'm kind of straight edge. Like last time, I told you that I don't even really drink alcohol, basically. I just have water and tea and nicotine. It's my morning go-to. And nicotine was actually a big change for me, honestly. I think it kind of kicked off a different era for me because I have a theory about ADHD where I'm following this, what's it called? There's a guy who has, I have his book here. A book that I didn't read. See that? Russell A. Barkley. And he has a nice theory about that ADHD is mostly about, I don't know, I'm blanking on the word, executive function. And all the tropes about ADHD where you're kind of never getting anything done and people just perceive that as laziness, basically. And I think his angle is kind of helpful. He said, no, it's actually just about mastering the right executive function energy. And the reason why people, for instance, take ADHD medication is just to kind of short circuit that. And in some videos he mentioned nicotine for that. So I just tried it out. And it's actually helpful. Just the gap between wanting to do something and then doing it can be kind of helped with that. Because the frustrating thing, I'm not even sure they have ADHD. I have probably some form, and it's not really that well bracketed anyhow. But the frustrating thing with ADHD cluster type symptoms is when you want to do something, you need to do something, and everything is aligned to do something, but then it doesn't happen for some reason. I always liken it to the car not starting. So if you want to drive somewhere, you know you want to drive somewhere, you know you need to drive somewhere. And then you get in the car and you put in the key and you twist the key and then nothing happens. And it's not about being lazy. You're twisting the key. You want to twist the key. You want to go somewhere. But it's not happening. And that's kind of the most frustrating thing. And I think there must be some brain chemical component to all this, where even if you put in the hours and even if you align the stars correctly, there's something lacking in there. And cocaine might be too much of a blunt tool, I think. I just go with this. And there is in my life a clear before and after going with that. Like the main job that I'm doing right now, I can see an alternate reality where that didn't happen, because it was basically a chance encounter of an old friend. I met him at a fairground close by. Maybe you know, but there is a huge, what's it called? Hang on. Kiemes. It's actually basically the same city. And I met an old friend there from primary school. And he told me about that they have a need for somebody to do UI development. And I didn't think that much of it. We had been talking about that like a year earlier. He still has my phone number. So I talked to him about, or he told me about what his work was, and it always sounded like he had some web projects that were kind of uninteresting. And I met him there, and it was about the time that I started experimenting with nicotine, actually. And the experiences were, beforehand, I would have not gone for it. It just increased by like 10 or 20% the chance that I would go for it. And at this point I said, just what the hell, go for it. Just talk to him, let's see what comes of this. And what came of that was an entire restructuring of my finances because he works for a bigger company and they actually put money into things. So they put money into me, and that helped because I was kind of on the verge of going broke, like big time. And that wasn't fun. But just going for it, getting that job, doing well at that job, so they're quite happy with that. Then I got rid of the two projects that I did. One I got rid of beforehand, and the other one I got rid of like half a year ago. So that I can now concentrate on, I first concentrated on their work, and now I'm mustering the energy to do laser development again. It depends on the kinds of jobs. And it depends on what tools I'm using for that. The project that I'm doing for them is basically a GUI for simulating electronic circuits, which is about as deep as I can go into it because I'm under NDA. But I'm developing basically a single page application that we then glue into a desktop application or a website. It's kind of both at the same time. But as I'm approaching the finish line with a laser, I'm going to look for jobs pretty soon, at least definitely after the summer holidays. Well, what kind of job are you talking about? That would be the question. Because the main thing I'm going to look for once laser is done is building solutions with laser. So any kind of, well, you have my email, so I can always say no. But I'm not saying no to money. Definitely not. Somebody has to pay for the synthesizers, you know. Ooh. I've talked about this the other stream. You weren't there, but I've spent a week now debugging Microsoft Windows file permissions. And man, that was a pain. Because I'm developing, it's in Tauri, so it's a Rust-based application. And in the background, it uses the whole CertiKit stack. And to Ooh, yeah. Yeah. But the problem that I had was that I was starting to use it more heavily on Windows, which is a different computer. So I wanted to sync the files over. And I use sync thing for that. And it worked well right out the gate, which was nice. And then suddenly it stopped. And everything was 50 to 100 times slower. And in the end, it was just a file permissions problem. Everything was working, it was just slow. So the sync thing at some stage set up a weird file permission, and that led to basic commands like file stats and so forth taking tens of seconds when they should have taken milliseconds. And that was not a good idea, because everything, like just starting up the app, would take 20 minutes. And you can't develop with that. But it took about a week of penetrating ChatGPT and trying out dozens of commands to restructure the file permissions, and then it just went back to working again. So I lost about a week of work just getting that straight. Ooh. I was always debating myself, well, you had a system that was working before where you copied the files by hand and you could get back to being productive by just doing that again. But I just wanted it to work properly. So I just ate the cost on that. But just knowing that you could be working, but instead you have to find the right rain dance to make something fast again that was fast before, and you didn't really change anything. That just sucked. And then the ecosystem in Windows is so bad, just for basic stuff like file permissions. I ran all the command line things, and then you have to go into all these GUIs for stuff that, I mean, sometimes it's nice to have a GUI, but especially all the permission stuff, there's like dozens of GUIs of different provenance. Like most of the stuff looks like Windows 98, and they never like updated it. And in Linux, it's just all command line. You don't get GUIs for that, but then you get good at using the command line, and that helps. Everything is just text, as it should be. And I also have flashbacks to, I used to, years ago, administer a Windows server, like 2003 edition. And my favorite moment of that was trying to do something, some root system. And I had the super admin account, but it told me I don't have the right permissions. And I was like, yeah, well, what other permissions could I even need? I'm the super admin. What are you talking about? Have you tried nicotine? Have you tried drugs? If you are in a state where like, do I have to call Bill Gates for this? Does he have the right permissions? Or do you have to, who's the guy now? Sanjay? No, who's the guy? The Microsoft guy? I forget. Satya. Do we have to call Satya to get this working? And that was going to happen. But if you have aligned your motivation and you know that you want to do it and you know that you can only benefit from it, then what else can you do? And maybe the nicotine is actually just like a placebo effect thing. But I'm taking the placebo if it means that I'm earning money. And even the placebo effect is like 20 or 30%. So why not take that, you know? I'm really aching to get back into web development. I just need to get all this straightened out. And then we can fire on all cylinders, basically. It'll be so much fun once all this is done. You have no idea how good this stuff is. I mean, I talk about this a lot. And my unreasonably calm demeanor never gives away how excited about all this stuff I am, but it's seriously cool stuff. It's so simple and it's so fast. And partially I'm doing this to just show people how simple it can all be and that you don't need all this crazy bureaucratic bullshit. It's just text. Everything is just text. And it's so simple. And you can compile away all the complexity, which is what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to do all the dependencies, which is hard if you do it in an MVC structure. That is just so easy. You just have to not have the problems, you know. That's it. That's it. What do you mean horizontally scale it? You mean like web scale? Horizontal scale. They put it in different machines or what? Kind of. If you're talking about splitting it up and having multiple instances to deal with it. Yes and no. Laser 2.0 used to be a centralized build event loop, and I'm switching that to workers. And the workers you can horizontally scale, and FrankenPHP kind of does that for you. So it's just about how many workers you initialize. And I guess at some point you can scale that beyond a single machine, because I'm using Redis as a caching and in finger quotes database layer. So you could just link up a Redis instance across servers and have it horizontally scale with that. So that's fine. But the thing is, you probably won't need it. Like, I haven't tested this, obviously. I just have experience with Laser 2.0 scaling. But I'm decreasing the complexity for each request by a factor of about 2 orders of magnitude. So I think you can go quite far with a single server. This might even scale to tens of thousands of users, which is usually enough. But once you get beyond hundreds of users for a service, for instance, you usually have the means to scale the metal underlayer of that. So that's probably fine. You just have to have, the question is, where is your data, basically? If you have a central server that keeps track of all the data, and then you just use Redis to marshal all the updates to the data, then you can scale infinitely. Like the only level, if you're like Twitter scale, then you have to have different ideas about that. But for any mid-sized project, it's fine. You don't need all that. And then you can still, since the output of Laser is always static, you can scale all the really intense stuff. It usually is static. So if you have a end user client facing part that you just, like if you have product pages or something like that, that kind of stuff can just be entirely static, and you can scale static content until your hair falls out, basically. It's a solved problem. And I'm trying to leave just the more complicated things to the server. In the craziest thing that I'm thinking about right now, and I think I'm going to do it. I think I want to, all the templating is currently happening on the server. So the result of a template is that you get a stream of fragments that you can render on the server. And making a request to the server means the server just goes through the stream of fragments, puts in the content, and then prints it out. So do we have a file of that? I have a rendered out. Unfortunately not. No, I do have. So there is like a list of things that it has to go through. If it's templating, it goes through a list and just concatenates the fragments. And the fragments themselves can just be as simple as, this is the number of fragments that are possible. So it's kind of a very small templating language that deals with fragments. And I think I can actually have that happen in the browser. So I could build a JavaScript library that does not request HTML output from the server, but requests the stream. And then it queries for the data, and all the single page application stuff that you do, like in Angular or React, that could just be stream processing on the client. So then you don't even need the server. You just need the server to compile the stream templates. You hand them over to the client, and the client does all the work. So you kind of get the best of both worlds there. The client, the server just compiles everything into the simplest possible format that I can think of, and then just renders the content. And then you only have to update data. Oh yeah, that's no problem. That's not a problem. I already solved that too. Because everything is a path. And then you have, do I have it here? No. Well, you make a web token, and you tell, in the web token you give permissions to certain paths, and the path could be a stream template, or it could be data that is used in the stream template, and then the client can just statically request that data from the server. Problem solved. And that's it. So then you don't even have the dynamic problem. You can make everything static that is static, and you don't need the server for dynamic content. And the I've made a bet with that developer friend of mine how if I am to build a JavaScript framework replacement, like a replacement for React or for Angular, how small can I make it? And I think I can get it down below 10k lines of code, maybe even below 5k lines of code. It'll be so simple. And then you can, on top of that, you can do all the basic jQuery stuff or whatever you want to use. Basically, it's you can't just do web stuff, basic browser APIs even, because it's all just hypertext. And I really want to build that just to show people how simple things can be. It'll be so much fun. And the updates that should happen are so small. It's not a big issue. You would basically have a service worker running that deals with all the requests. And it would look like you're requesting HTML from a server. But what actually happens is the request goes to the service worker. The service worker has the HTML stream, and it can query for data that it needs. And all the dependency stuff is already resolved in the server. So then you can just print it out. And you deal with it like it was the old web, where you just request static content and build a thin layer of JavaScript on top of that. All the templating stuff is just taken care of. It'll be so nice. And I might even prototype that with my first backend. I haven't decided on that yet. But if I get that working this year, it'll be a celebration. And the laser page that I want to build to explain that will basically be a blueprint of the concept of how the templating itself works. And then I have a reference implementation in PHP and Caddy, and then the JavaScript library on top of that. And then you can implement that. I mean, it's a few thousand lines of code. You can implement that in a week or two in any language. So whatever you want to build. So I might make the JavaScript part of this open source, and then you can build your own server on the back of that, because the concepts are so simple. If I can implement that in PHP in a few thousand lines of code, then anybody can. You might even feed the laser explanation to an LLM and have that build the whole server for you. It's that simple. Yeah, just a few things. If you tell, like, the concept of splitting it up into fragments and having just nodes in there, there is a small layer of complexity in the expressions. There's a little more involved, but the syntax isn't that complicated either. Yeah, it's not hard. But if you then get out all these streams, having a client-side library that just does the string concatenation for you, that'll be cool. But to get there, I still have to. So now I'm at the point where I have this template here. So this is what it looks like in a template. If I'm building this dashboard, then I just have all these fragments, and the fragments are just, this is a start of an HTML element, and then has content, and the content is, I don't know, fragment content 27. That's fragment content 27, I think. No, not in this case. It's something else. Oh, it's an element. I don't have that here. But I could get it here if I say like elements, and then I redo this, and then I have an element 27 is the header. That's it. So you concatenate the start of a header, and that's this bit. That's it. That's all there is. It's just that. And the complex things is what I still need to solve right now is what do we do with control logic, like for each and ifs. But that's like 3 things that I have to solve, and then that's done. And then I already have that for the actual rendering of the template. Right now I just want to figure out, in this, for instance, I have an icon. So this should result in an SVG path because I want to print out an SVG icon right here. And for that I have to iterate over data. Oh yeah, I wanted to, I think I'm going to split up the dependencies into 2 steps. So let's see. So this here has a dependency on one D file, and D files are always dependency lists. And there is a template or a make for this. And this is the function that I'm currently going through. But I think I need like 2 steps. I need a first path. I'm not sure yet, actually. The thing is, like if you look at the timings for recompiling things, compiling the dependencies for a template is on the order of a few milliseconds. So, and even all the different components, even the more complex ones, is on the order of at most tens of milliseconds. So the problem with incremental updates is that then you have to find out, like if I'm in a template, where's the dashboard? Like even an operation like getting this for each and putting it somewhere down here, that could be an operation where you just move something in the stream. But maybe it's just simpler to recompile it all the time. Yeah, maybe you can just... The problem that you have, and that I have not solved yet, is addressing all these parts in here. And there might be a clever algorithm that I can come up with at some point where I'm hashing the content. Like if this for each is here, but next time I'm putting it down here, then the hash value of this block is still the same whether it's up here or down there. So that might be an incremental update operation that I can keep track of. And it will be a file watcher that just keeps I already have a file watcher that does this basically. It's where do I have that? Comms, yeah. So I'm using iNotify to read all the file changes in the system, and when a source file changes, it would obviously trigger an update. But if the baseline update just takes like 100 milliseconds even, then that might not be an issue at all. But kind of the entire underpinning of this is that the incremental updates that the browser is being sent, these are usually just fragment updates, which is pretty simple. Like if you're in a dashboard and you're putting test in here, that should just be updating, adding a fragment in this node somewhere, and now it's just a text element in there. And that could be, you could either just resend the whole HTML page, or you can just say, well, at this point you have to put in something. But for that you need an address, and the address is something that I probably have to inject here. It might be bad, but it might not be bad enough to warrant creating an entire incremental update structure. So I'm going to implement the, it might be fast enough for development purposes. And you usually only need incremental template structural updates during development. You won't need that like in the, when it's live. But after that, when it comes to like, if something in this for each changes, for instance, that should be an incremental update. So I'm looking into that. But the addressing, I'm probably going to, since all the fragments already have IDs, I could just inject a data element, a data attribute in here. And then I could say, well, if this is actually data fragment UID something, then I could say, well, you need to add a text node within or just after this here. But this is something that I will add dynamically, these fragment UIDs. But that's how I would also solve like content updates in here. And you might be able to use that in development for changing the structure of the template. And the only hard part about that would be keeping a global counter on all the elements. But I'm not there yet. So once I have few ideas about that, how I might solve that, but I'm not in that battle yet. So I think what I'm trying to do here is, so this goes through a template and looks for dependencies and tries to, as best as it can, resolve them. And control logic is a little different in that case. So maybe when I enter a for each, I have to take a chunk of fragments and then run them through the same thing for each of the items in the array. So I could do something like for each scope items, which I have now. Value. Oh no, I first would have to find the next items in there. Let's do I. So we can make a look ahead here. So go back there later. And now we want to know what the next element is here. So we do something like next node is this. It's I plus 1. And then we do while next node is not, no, next node, what's it called? there should be an end tag that references the previous tag. While next node type is not end, yeah. While it's not end, we want to let's do j is 1. So we do this. Then we have a stack that we put in all this content. So to put this up, this down. And then we need to figure out that, let's just test this. So we're now putting stuff on this stack. And at some point we should hit an end node. But we never do. Why? So we are in 54 in the template for the dashboard. 54. This is starting for each. Do we ever end stuff in here? There shouldn't be that much content actually. So this is an attribute, somewhere down here maybe. This is probably this text node. This is an end node, okay. There should be some end node here. Next node type is not node end. Why is it concatenating all these things? Let's see what the next node is. Start. It never yeah, we need to increment j. J plus. That is helpful. Now we should get an end node actually, but it's not the right end node. So we have a stack now of a few items, but this is probably the something else. But the value is the important thing. The value is, and not the ID, because there should be an end marker. It should know which one it ends. There should be a reference. Is it in fragment content? No. What is the content? What is the fragment? 9FE. Let's look into the template parser, because I'm certain that I'm search for this. There should be 4 in there. Right, so if why don't I have 4 in here? Oh no, it's this one, right. This one has it. Okay. So we want to know either it's not an end node, or it is, and then we want to know whether the 4 is the fragment ID. right? Let's see what we get for that. So now the next node is an end tag, and it's content 59. Wait, is that right? What element is this? Yeah, it's a for each. Okay, so that's correct. Now we have a stack. The stack is all the content that we need. Can also jump out there. We'll do that in a second. Right, but this is not quite. It shouldn't have attached this. Because this is true. And J is now 12. So next I will probably refactor this as a for loop that iterates over the counter, and then the fragment is just getting that one out. I can already do that actually. That would be if I have a counter. And then we just count the template items or the fragments. Then we have for loop for I is 0, I is smaller than fragment count, which is I++. No. And then fragment is, did I already resolve that? Yeah. So that's the fragment now. And then instead of I, we can increment I here, right? Yeah. I++. Then we just need I here. Increment it here. So now we've advanced in the whole thing. And this should probably be a switch case. So like this. Yeah. Right, so now I have, what I'm doing now is I'm going to take the scope and for each of the items, no, scope items, it's an array. Oh, yeah, right. I incremented that. So the value is now the first key in there. So that's fine. So in here I can now say scope item is value. And then I run the recursive function on that every time and just get out the list items. Let's open some windows. Because it's bright outside now. Ugh. Where did that come from? Right, so let's refactor all this. Let's do this. Recursive. So like this. And then this is the stream. This. And then this is also the stream. Still need all these globals. We'll need the elements, but that's not a problem. Then we have a scope. And then we have a list. Let's just call that dependency list. Right. So now up here we can say this. Can rename this. And the stream would be what we just wrote over. This one. Because now we can go into that down here and say now we want to have the stack as this, put in the scope, and have our dependency list still. We just still had the issue that it would have the end node in there. Is that a problem? No, that's not a problem. It might later be when we have an actual template there, but that's fine. It's fine. So we now want to know, are we already in the right template now? we want to be here. See, and there's the if case. See how simple this is? A monkey can write this code, so I can too. A literal monkey can write this. So now we deal with the if case, I guess, because it's the same thing. We just need to evaluate the f2. That's not an issue, because we now have recipes for this. You also didn't see that. For each expression, we now have a function that we can call. It just does what you want, which is good. But this is the stack now. So we need another case in here. And that's control if. And we don't create scope in an if, so that's not an issue. But this same code works here. We don't iterate over that though. We just take this stack, but we want to have the if case here. And the if case is, let's see. We have an if fragment now. Oh, we are at that if fragment. And this is an expression. So we can... do we want that? We can just do that. It's not the right function, but it's fine. Because we want to have the if. So in the scope, should now have, we don't. Why? Oh, it's not items. It's fragment if. If is false. See? It's already resolved and everything, but I don't trust it. That's probably true actually, because the item is, let's put the template too. If item hide on dashboard is empty, see, that's not true, so it's fine. And then the group needs to be e-commerce, which is also not true. So this will probably never be true, all these. That means we can just take the if. So if scope, if, then we recursively process these. Put the scope in there, and then that's fine. This kind of should already work actually. Did we just do all the work? Let's see what list we're getting. Dependency list is this. That's not fine. That's not what we want. So let's see when we get to this. The first one we don't care about. We care about the second one. And now we want to see what happens in the if. So we have a fragment, which should now be the correct one. What's BO1? It's this one. It's still the wrong one. Hang on, let's see what the template says. Dashboard. Dashboard, 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 this one. Oh, it's still this. Good morning. How are you today? Because we are crushing it. We're absolutely crushing it this morning. We are writing monkey code. Code so simple a literal monkey could write it. If the monkey can type, and the monkey can type. So ugh. That sounds like something that ChatGPT should do for you. And then you should never check the output. That's the important part. You should delegate your work to ChatGPT and then just use it. Do I still have this tab open? Hang on. Hang on. There was a funny comment I saw yesterday. So there's a Hacker News item on WASM agents, AI agents, and then there's this comment that says, where was it? I've lost it again. Blah, 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 here. Here is a corrected version of your text that fixes the grammar and typos while keeping the colloquial tone. Bro just took his comment, put it through ChatGPT, and then just pasted the output. Straight up. That's what you should do. Your legal text should start with, yes, I can write this as if I was a competent lawyer. Here's your output. Brave new world, huh? But that's what you should do. Just do it. Don't even think about it. Submit to the AAI. Ooh, yeah. I'm going to have to do that at some point, but ugh. I will use so many tokens when I get to that point. It's crazy. I actually have a component for die Datenschutzerklärung. Hang on, where do I have it? Why do I have that? Hang on. Blah, 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 blah. It should be somewhere in here. There you go. Component that prints out a DSGVO component. But this is probably old stuff that I still have to correct somehow. But this is what I used to use. Just a static text. That's all you need. Why do you have config? You don't need config. Lame. But I should have ChatGPT read that and fix it for me. And then I'll leave the LLM node in there. So we have item, hide on dashboard. Do we have that in the scope? Scope. Scope if is false. Is that true? What are the items? This one is hidden. Okay, so this should be fine. Do we ever get to a true case? The internet is so dead. It's already so dead. We had like 1 year of ChatGPT, and it's like 90% of the content is just generated garbage. Oh. I mean, it's justified because all that stuff is just useless bureaucracy, but it kind of defeats the purpose of it all. Like, we should have ChatGPT write us a legal petition to get rid of all the cookie banners and all that stuff. A WordPress site with an AI privacy policy. Yeah. Man. The whole entire web field is so messed up. We really are screwed. This is never true. That's bad. Something should be true in there. Let's open another one of these. My menu. Because you should have stuff that is on the dashboard. And this is group e-commerce and it's not hide on dashboard. So why am I not getting it? So this one. No, this one. Hang on. This is fine. So let's see. We are in. Let's open more windows. Because why not? So we are now. We are already in inventory? No, hang on. No, it's this one, okay. So this one should be hidden, that's fine. Next one is e-commerce. It's e-commerce and it's not hidden on the dashboard. So why am I not getting this? Items correct. Let's step through this again. So this is the first item. This is hidden on the dashboard. This one is not. So I don't have scope, which is fine. But then down here I have locals. Oh, that's the problem. Why do I not have a local scope here? And what is the scope for this? Scope is item, and I have item and scope. Expressions. E1 item dot hide on dashboard. Oh, I'm not doing this here. That's the issue. I need to split this up. Right. We forgot about that part. So this should take the same thing. We can actually pull it out completely here. Kind of. Almost. We might not have this though. So let's just copy it. Copying code is fine. So now this should actually work. First for each, second for each. Now you get down here. The first one should be false. The second one should be true. It's not. First one, second one, first scope, second scope. We are interpolating the expression. We are getting the expression. We have scope. This is the first item. This is set. Wait. Hang on. What am I doing here? Why is this not evaluating the scope properly? This is nonsense. I should be doing this in here. Is that the issue? Probably. Let's do this here. If this is set, otherwise, it's not really correct though. Or maybe it is. Then we don't need all this to. If this scope is set, we do this. No. This is broken now. What did we break though? Nothing. Word? No, that's fine. In recipes 297. What were we missing here? We didn't have, yeah, that's true. So this should actually just be this, I think. If is set this, then we do this. Not res, but ls. Does that work? No. We get nothing. Access of type. Okay. Yeah. Maybe this. Yeah. First for each, second for each. First if case, second if case. Do we get a proper if now? Nope. Dang it. First for each, second for each. First if, second if. We have scope. We have item. We have this. We split it up. Wait. Oh, it takes the last one. I just need the first one here. Oh, I know why. Yeah, this is dumb. I'm accessing it. That's the problem. This should be fine, actually. Just this is all. Yeah, this is all dumb. This is all nonsense. I wrote nonsense code. Because the ls, when we get up there, should already be fine. First for each, second for each, first if, second if. So when we get to here, this is already no. Why is it no? We have a scope, and this is the resource. We have item. Well, this is no. So this is actually fine. This should just be this. Yeah, this is no, which is alright. But maybe the scope breaks in here. Try that again. I think we're not setting the right key. Yeah, we want item in there. That's the problem. How do we do that? How are we getting there anyway? The problem is that we are calling. What are we calling? Yeah. So we want to know when we get here. We never do get there. We should be getting there though. Right. What's the local scope now? Yeah, that's the issue. Because that should just be item. And we're resolving this, which is a problem. Maybe it's fine if we just take the first key here. I'm not sure yet though. Let's try it out. So instead of this, we want to do just take the first part maybe. Maybe. So let's do if and then not res but parts 0. And otherwise we do this chunk. Then this would be this, and the result would be this. And this should just be this, I think. Or the same thing. I don't know. It wouldn't be set there though. So let's do. Let's pull this one out. Not really though. If we have this. This. Maybe that'll work. Or maybe, as it has happened every day now, my IDE will break. Every day. Every day we have to deal with this. Close all the windows that PHP Storm opens. And then let's do this one. I've forgotten already. So if I want to go here. And then we debug this. Don't want that. And here, and again, and go here, and the local scope. That's fine. Is it fine? No. That is the item list. We just want the first item, right? So the scope. This is not correct. Which means that this up here is not correct. Scope. Items. Right. We need to figure out what we're iterating over. That's the issue. And that means there should be this. Why am I not getting that? Right, we just changed that. So, fragment items is actually this. We're getting the wrong one out there. So maybe we have a different case here entirely between this one and this one. Maybe we actually don't want to extend the scope here. Because this now does not give us the right thing. So E1 is this. Yeah, we're not doing that. Still want to do this. It was correct all along. Oh, come on. Not a second time. It needs to stop doing that. It really does. Close all windows again and again and again. Okay, so where were we? Pre-ranks, we didn't want these, we wanted this one. And we want to get rid of this one. Oh, this is fine. Okay, so let's start this up again. It might have been the expression stone here that sometimes kills you. So scope items. Now it's correct. But we probably broke the if statements now. That's the first one, second one. Let's see what we get for the if. The item is correct now. It's never true. So either I create a new case there. Let's see, do we have the right item yet? No. This one's the right item. So what do we have? We have E1, which is this. We kind of want to skip over this one because we're not getting into the. And let's just use expression what. Let's call it deep resolve. And that's usually true. And then in here we want to have false. I think this will fix it. So just skipping over that one. It's a band-aid. It's dying again. The third time now. But third time's the charm, huh? Third time's the charm. These are still wrong. Still want to be here, and then eventually you want to be in the if statement. Do this again. Okay. First case, second case. Do we now get a scope? So this is the first item. It's true. You're getting the if case. That's good. So now we should be processing this. And we might already be figuring out that we need this icon here. Because in the stack, we should now have a bunch of junk, and one of these should be the text item that holds our reference to a resource. This is the if. This is this part here, which will also be true. Then we start a new thing. Right, that's the icon template. We have an attribute, another attribute. Then we have text. The text is this. And 99 CD something is this. No, wait, it's navigation. Content is 183. So fragment content 183. It's array. Why is that array? That's wrong. Let's look into the icon. FA component. Is this an array? And do I... can't search this. Let's look into the components here. No. Let's pull them in. I think that template is just broken. Oh God, come on. Come on. Sometimes it's the closer you get to your target, the more often your IDE breaks down. It's also 6 o'clock though, or almost 6 o'clock. So I'm going to finish this one up and then we'll have ourselves a Saturday. I want to be here. Components and then FA icon. It has slots. Oh wait, I think I took the wrong one. The value should be 3. And that means fragment content. No. You know what? Actually, let's run this. Let's run this and see whether we get to. Is this the public? No, I don't have the public path here. This one. Okay, so it doesn't work because we get into a text node. And the text node should have the fragment content. And the fragment content should be the expression that pulls the SVG in there. So this. Something with icon. Maybe look at. It should be array though. It's not this too. Kind of this one, but not really. Probably this one. Yeah. CV396. CV396. Yeah, this one. Kind of want to be here. I can't really debug that. Yeah, it's fine. It never gets there. That's the problem. So we want to be again in this first for each. The second for each. Then we want to be in this if. And then we should have a proper stack with a scope. And let's go into the stack is this old thing. And what text node do we get to? Is it this one? Content 275. Okay, this is the item title. So we are still. Where are we? This is this one. Huh. It's not where I want it to be. First one, second one. We are in the if. This one. There's an if statement. Maybe that doesn't resolve properly. But we have item icon. Let's see whether we get to this if. That should be the next one, right? So we are in here. Yeah, that should be the next one. Maybe I'm not resolving it properly somehow. So the fragment is now item icon. Yeah, this is this one. Do we get a proper scope? If is false. Okay, that's the problem. So the scope is, it has an item, and the expression is, replace that. Fragment if 6f state. No. What? We replace these, but maybe we don't. Maybe in this case this is actually correct. Let's see again. First loop, second loop, first if, first if. So we don't want to deep resolve now, but maybe we do. Maybe I was wrong. Yeah, but we don't want that. What is the resolve? Why is this config? This is like the wrong way around. This is entirely false here. This is the right one. Now this should be fine. Wait, why do I get config here? So I'm in this expression with this hash. What? This is all correct. Why do I get config here? What's RE scope? So that means I need to overwrite that. Yeah, I'm taking the wrong one. I need to take this from the interpolate, I think. Maybe. So what am I using this for? Well, I need it down here, that's fine. Right, this is actually correct. I do need to deep resolve this. So that's just nonsense then. So in this case, I would be getting item icon. So the deep resolve is one level deeper actually. Because if we have that, we want if deep resolve, we do this thing. And otherwise we take just the first one. I think. If we don't have that, that's a problem. Let's do for each, second for each, first if, and the scope seems fine. So now we are in the if, and now I want to go into text, right? We're still at item title. Why? First one, second one. This is the outer if. This is the inner if. Right? No, this is still the outer if. Now we got this if. And now we want what? We have fragments now. And one of these should be this if. No, it should be this one. The last one should be a break. Kind of. Yeah, this is the if not empty. And then we have a starting node. And this is the start of the thing. It has an attribute, another attribute, and then text. And what's 2BD? Maybe the if item icon no wait, I'm in there. That's fine. I don't have this in here. So that should just be fine. And I know that it does come up, right? There's another if. Word? Am I not in the right if? Let's see what we get. Attribute, attribute, start, attribute, text. Oh, maybe there is another one before that. Yeah, we didn't get there yet. So maybe we get there later. For some reason. No, this is fine. I want to go here. I want to go there. Why can I not go there? This is the... Hang on. Why do I have an if in here? What are you? Maybe I need to stop holiday. Yeah. We got a lot done today. That's fine. Let's close off with a round of solitaire. See what's in the cards for us today. Wait. I want to put this on here to get these two, and this one. Could get this here. This kind of resolves if we could put the 9 somewhere or the 10. But it would lose the slot. Let's try that. Could also get this here, kind of. Don't have the king though. But if you put this down, 2 goes up, 5 goes here. Can't get rid of that king. We could get to the 19. The 8 is here. So we could do this. The 9 here. Flip this here, and then we get either the... I'll get this. I have the 15. Yes, the 16 is here. Could put this down, check on here. Stuck on the king though. The 2 is where? Here. Not that bad. But if you put this down, then 2 goes, all these go. This goes, 5 goes here. King goes up. Oh no, we buried the 4. That's the issue. Put this over here. Could bounce the 6 on the 5, but we would have to be stuck with the 4. I still feel like I need to put 14 on 15 here. Put this in a hole, check on here, 6 on 5, 12 doesn't help. So maybe we want to make this a different trade. Maybe we first want to do this. This kind of still all goes here. Let's just try it. Let's try it out. Even if it does kill us. Nope, nope, nope. Can't get rid of this 3. We would need the 6 for that, but we've buried the 15. So we could put this up. 4, 5 in the hole. 14, 15. Maybe. So this in the hole. Put this here. Nah. I think that's game over. No, wait. Can do this. And then this. Maybe. Then we're stuck here. Could put this in the hole, 5 on the 6. Or we could trade it. So we can do this, bounce this on here. Could get this one out. No, wait, we do this, and then this here. And these go. We are not dead. We are not dead. This is an easy trade to make. Can do this. Get all these. Get this 3 here. Want to make sure that we don't land on the bad cards there. Ooh, but we kind of have to, because we need the 11. We're getting the devil, and not death. I mean, we're getting death. You can't stop on death, though. Come on. Let's make it a nice round number up here. 20's here. And we can do this. 15, and then bounce, bounce these over here. Then we switch these. Or we can put them on the 6 and the 17. We still haven't gotten any of these. Do we want these on the 8? Don't know. There's so many 2s in here. Get the 7 out, jack on the 10, 4 on the 3. Oh, this fixes stuff. Yeah, let's do that. Because now I can get all these. And we've already gotten away from death. And isn't that what we want? Get these out. I'm not getting this is the fool though. This goes and this goes. Yeah, I want this here. Didn't pay attention there. It's fine though. Get the 1, get the 9, 8, 7, 6 is here. These all go. This goes. Getting the wheel, I think. No, not the wheel. Justice. Okay. We can finish on justice, I think. Alright. 1460. Cool. And that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we will find out why that if case is still broken. Not sure why. We'll see. Yeah. I'm going to have myself a weekend now. Take care. Bye bye.